Hi guys, today's lesson is lesson 6. I'm going to be doing pages 28 and 29. I'd like you to follow along with me, please. This lesson's objective is to investigate patterns in vertical and horizontal lines and interpret points on a plane as distances from the axes. Okay, so this coordinate plane that we're given here is a little different than what we've seen so far because it is using decimals. It's not using fractions this time. I don't see fractions or mixed numbers, just decimals. But don't be afraid of that. It's not that much, more difficult. I probably talked more about fractions than decimals, but you have had some practice with decimals. All right, so I'm going to look at each each axis. And I'm noticing that the units go from 0 to 0.5 to 1. 0.5 is the same as 1/2, right? So this is the halfway point between 0 and 1. So it's a pretty small scale. And then if you just count over, each square, each line, I guess, when you make a hop, represents 0.1. So this would be 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, 0.5, 0.6, 0.7, 0.8, 0.9, and then obviously that's 1. So I want to clear that up before we actually get started. Okay, they're asking us to plot points and label them on the coordinate plane. So the first one is 0.3 and then 0.1. So I'm finding 0.3 and then 0.1. So this one is just right here. And I have to label that point A. All right, B, 0.3 and then 0.7. So I'm going past 0.5, 0.6, 0.7 would be right here. Label that B. All right, pause the video, please, and plot C and D on your own. All right, C, we're doing 0.2 and then 0.9. So right here would be C. D is 0.4, 0.9, 0.4, 0.9, right here. And this is D. All right, use a straight edge to construct line segments A, and CD. So the difference between a line segment, a line goes on forever in both directions. A line segment ends. So that's a line, this is a line segment, this is what we're making. So they want you to use a straight edge to connect A and B. So points A and B are right here. And also connect C and D. You might not even need a straight edge for this. They're very close together. Okay, there's 2 line segments. B says line segment, so which one, AB or CD, is parallel to the x-axis and perpendicular to the y-axis. So I'm looking for the line segment that is parallel to this. So if X runs this way, I see C and D runs like this, which makes them parallel. So line CD is parallel to the x-axis and perpendicular to the y-axis. So here we have CD. Make sure you draw the line over it. That means line segment. Line segment blank is parallel to the y-axis and perpendicular to the x-axis. So this is the y-axis. I see AB is parallel to it, and it is perpendicular to the x-axis. All right, this one says plot a point on line segment AB that is not at the endpoints and name it U. Write the coordinates. So I'm plotting something along here. It cannot be at the endpoint, so it can be anywhere I want along the line. One thing I know about this is that I know that my x coordinate is going to be 0.3, which is why it's in a straight line. So 0.3, and then let's see where I, over 0.3, and then it looks like we're up to 0.3 as well. So here you could plot anything. This needs to stay. This one could have changed. All right, now plot a point on line segment CD and name it V, write the coordinates. So there's only one place for me to do V. And for this one, I know that the Y coordinate is going to be 0.9. And then for the X coordinate, I'll just count over. This is 0.1, 0.2, 0.3. This is at 0.3 and 0.9. All right, let's move on to page 29. All right, construct line F such that the Y coordinate of every point, so the Y coordinate of every point is 3.5, and construct line G such that the X coordinate of every point is 4.5. All right, so let's first construct line F. All of the Y coordinates must be 3.5. So for all of these, I'm going to have something for X and then a Y coordinate, so F, and then a Y coordinate of 3.5. So what's that going to look like? When I go over, these numbers are going to change, but what's not going to change is going up along that y-axis, 3.5. So 3.5 is right in between the 3 and the 4. So my line needs to go along here. Where did my straight edge go? All right, so this shows 3.5. They want a line, it just says a line. All right. Okay, this is line F, and I'm just gonna plot some points on it. 3 should be good. For this one, line G, it says that all the y coordinate of every point should be 4.5. So this is going to be 4.5, and then y is going to change. So that means when I move over on the x-axis, I'm always going to be here along the 4.5. I forgot. Oh, this one's called G. And then I can just label some points anywhere I want. Cool. So now that I've constructed my lines, I can answer these questions. It says line F, that's this one, is how many units from the x-axis? So going up, how many units from the x-axis is it? So if I look across, it is 3.5 units from the x-axis. B, give the coordinates of the point on line F that is 1/2 unit from the y-axis. All right, so I am on this line now, line F, and I'm looking for a 1/2 unit from the y-axis. So a 1/2 a unit going this way from the x-axis. So halfway away from the y-axis is right here, right? So I'm looking for a point that lies halfway. It would be this one right here, which would be 1/2, 3.5. All right, C, it looks like you're gonna need a blue pencil for this. It says, with a blue pencil, shade the portion of the grid that is less than 3.5 units from the x-axis. So I'm looking for the section here that is less than 3.5 units from the x-axis. Well, going from the x-axis means going this way. And the portion that is less than 3.5 units away would be, I guess, anything down here. So I only have a pen. I'm going to shade it. Oh, doesn't that work? All this part can be shaded blue. All right. Now we're on D. Line G is how many units from the y-axis? So this is G. How many units from the y-axis is it? So I'm moving over from the y-axis and I intersect here. It's 4.5 units away from the x-axis. E, give the coordinates of the point on line G. So again, I'm on line G. That is 5 units from the x-axis. So I'm looking at 5 units from here. So going up, this would be 5 units from the x-axis. So I'm looking for what the coordinate of that point is. So I get to 4.5, 5. Now this says with a red pencil, shade the portion of the grid that is 4.5 units from the y-axis. So from the y-axis, 4.5 units. More than 4.5 units from the y-axis. So this would be 4.5 units from the y-axis. Anything more would be this way. Uh-oh. And there you have it. Today you are going to do pages 31 and 32 for your assignment.